Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about toy rotation. This video is actually in response to a comment I got on my YouTube channel about people asking how I do toy rotation and kind of what that looks like for our family. And I thought since my son just had his 2-year-old birthday, this would be a perfect time to kind of share our toy rotation system and our toy storage system and kind of how that works for our family. If you're new here, my name is Autumn Renee, and I would love to have you subscribe. I make all kinds of videos on foster care, parenthood, child products, all kinds of things like that. So if you're interested in any of that, definitely check out my channel below. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. So this is my son's room. We live in a 2-bedroom apartment, so basically all of my son's toys are kept in here. Bigger items such as the slide, the bead maze, all that kind of stuff is going to be stuff that I don't rotate. I keep that stuff out all the time. There are definitely some people who like to rotate bigger items also, but we really just don't have the storage or the space for that, so I keep that stuff out all the time. Especially I like to have his climbing stuff and slide out because we can't go to playgrounds right now with the pandemic, so I like him to have something to kind of get that energy out. We also have a play kitchen and like a water table and wagon and balls and stuff outside, and all of that I don't rotate. I keep all of that out. So really the stuff I rotate is going to be this stuff right here. His book basket, his little 8-cube shelf, and then this little basket right here. So these are the things that I rotate on a daily basis. All the other stuff kind of just stays out as like a constant. So I actually have 2 different rotation systems to share with you guys because during quarantine I did, or during stay-at-home orders and all of that, I did one kind of rotation system for several months. And I actually just recently switched to a new rotation system. So I'm going to share both with you guys, so maybe you can figure out which one's going to work best for you. So first I want to talk a little bit about book rotation. So all of my son's books that are available to him are stored in here. So at any given time he has about 10 to 15 books in here. And then he's got one little 9-night book on the side that we read right before bed. The rest of the books I keep stored up here at the top of his closet. Now, the reason I keep it stored at the top is because I used to keep it stored down here, but my son was always pulling them out and making a huge mess, and he wouldn't even really want to play with them. He just wanted to make the mess, and it kind of drove me crazy, so I moved it up here so we could just kind of avoid that whole situation. Obviously, if he asks for a specific book or wants something down, I will get it for him, but other than that, he usually just reads the books I have in rotation. Now, book rotation I kind of do a little bit separately from toy rotation. I like to rotate books on a weekly basis because my son loves to read. We read multiple times a day, every single day. So by the time we read all those books for the whole week, by the time it gets to the end of the week, we have read the same book so many times that both me and him are ready for book rotation. So I will rotate books on a weekly basis. I will take the 10-15 books that are out, put them back, and put 10 to 15 new books out. I also like this because it gives my son a chance to really read all the books we own. We own quite a few, and I like him to have a chance to kind of see them all and to continue to love reading. So that's how we do book rotation. Everything else I would consider part of toy rotation. We have his extra like baby toy storage that we're saving for like a future child here, and then we also have some other toy storage down here that's just stuff that's not in rotation. And then we also have his puzzles up here, and then down here we have his like Legos and Magnetile blocks. And then you already saw his 8-cube activity shelf. So basically during, like pandemic stay-at-home situation where I was working from home and my son was at home and we were all just at home all the time for months on end, that is when I started implementing toy rotation. Because prior to that, my son went to daycare, and we went to playgrounds, and we went to grandparents' house, and we just weren't home all that often. And so I didn't really feel a need to do toy rotation. But I found that when we were home all the time, my son was getting bored with his toys. He wasn't having interest in them. And really, I just felt that there was a need for toy rotation. Now, why would you want to do toy rotation? Definitely, I think the best benefit of toy rotation is it kind of is like your kid getting a new present every time you rotate. Because if they haven't seen a toy in a really long time, when you rotate it, it's like a whole brand new toy to them and they're so excited. So it kind of gives a renewed interest in the toys they already own. And it also can help build like longer attention spans. When you have less toys out for them, they are more drawn to certain things. They spend more time with things instead of just bouncing from one thing to another. And to be honest, I honestly really want to minimize this. Like, I still feel like it's too much at once, but I have such a hard time putting out less than this because I'm just like, I want him to have all these different activities out. So definitely like minimize as much as you can. Having out at one time definitely helps, build those attention spans, build those skills, and, really just teaches them to play imaginatively and creatively. And I really saw all those benefits when I started doing this. That being said, the very first toy rotation system I used, I won't say it was a failure, but it definitely wasn't perfect. The first rotation system I used, I rotated once a week. And like I said, that was when we were out staying at home. We were home all the time. So once a week, I would just clear out all these toys. Sometimes I would leave like a favorite toy out or two. If he was really into something still, I would leave it out. But the rest of them I would clear out, and I would put in, 6 to 8 new activities out there. That way, every week he kind of had a new selection of toys. And this idea sounded good in my head, and honestly, I used it for months. And I don't know, I guess what I found was that it wasn't long enough. It wasn't a long enough rotation, because what would happen is I was kind of rotating the same, however many toys we own, every week. And so he was really seeing the same thing every 2 weeks or so. And so what kind of happened was it wasn't really renewing the interest of the toys like toy rotation is supposed to. Instead, it was just, me putting out new toys and him still looking at them like they're the old toys. Because really, he was so used to seeing them so often, it really didn't work as a toy rotation system for him. So even though it did minimize the amount of toys that were out and it did kind of freshen things up a bit, it didn't really renew his interest as much as I would hoped it would. And after doing some research, I really think that was because it wasn't long enough. I think a successful toy rotation system needs to be long enough where the child not necessarily forgets about the toy, but hasn't seen it in long enough time that they're really excited when it comes back out. And for us, a week was not long enough, or a week or two was not long enough. So I decided to modify it. Now that my son is 2 and he got a lot of new toys for his birthday, I thought I would kind of switch around his toy rotation system. So what I decided to do was I chose 8 activities out here, plus his little music basket, and I chose a variety of both open-ended and skill-based activities. And what I mean by that is like something like these cars and his little animals would be considered open-ended. He can play with them in a variety of ways. He can play with them imaginatively and creatively. Versus a skill-based activity like a threading apple, a puzzle, his shape sorter. Those kinds of have specific ways to play with them, and he's working on a specific skill when he's using them. So that is kind of how I decided to do it, is kind of a mixture of skill-based and open-ended imaginative play. And like I said, he does have his play kitchen and stuff out in the living room, so he does have access to that kind of stuff all the time. But in here, I decided to give him these options for the first rotation. So he has musical instruments, his little baby doll that he loves, cars, threading apple, little stacking blocks, shape sorter, a puzzle, pegboards, and animals. And I want to come back to the puzzle real quick. Puzzles are something I actually do differently, just like books. I actually rotate puzzles weekly, and my reason for that is because we have so many puzzles. And honestly, I tried to pare down, but like if I open this, there's just so many different kinds. We have the little peg puzzles that make sounds. We've got, bigger shape puzzles. We've got little like maze puzzles, chunky puzzles, and I just feel like they all kind of work on a different skill and are like different in a special way, and I just really couldn't bring myself to get rid of any of them. So he has a lot of puzzles from over the years, so I do like to rotate those on a weekly basis. That way he gets to use all of them. So puzzles and books I do weekly, but I'm no longer doing toys weekly. So for toys, I'm now doing it on a 3-month rotation, and I know that sounds like a really long time, but I honestly think that my son will like, with these activities, like this is a lot of activities for him, and especially with the puzzles and books being rotated and him having some other things too, I think it'll be plenty for him. There's plenty of minimalist families out there that have a whole lot less toys, and they do fine. So I think it'll be fine for him. And I think at that point, with 3 months passing, when I bring out the other toys, then it will finally be that like renewed interest, like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen this in so long kind of thing. And I'll definitely keep you guys updated on like how this goes and how it works, because I haven't actually done the 3-month rotation yet. We're just starting that. I'll let you guys know if we end up, doing it sooner than that or not. I've definitely read people who've had success with a 3-month rotation method or 1 month rotation method. I definitely just think 1 week was too long or too short. And honestly, I think 1 month might be also. So I'm going to try to do a longer rotation. I might end up cutting it to like 2 months. We'll see. But that's kind of what we're doing right now. And I do, in addition to these activities, just to be transparent over here, I do have his blocks in here because that was like one open-ended activity that I wanted him to have access to, but really didn't fit in his shelves. So we have his Duplo Legos and his Magna tiles in here that are available to him if he wants them, but they're not necessarily like out as an activity. So he really does have quite a bit out. I know, guys, this is definitely not like a super minimalist like method. I definitely have like aspirations to be more minimalist, but I don't know if I have first-time mom syndrome or just the YouTube mom syndrome or what, but like I just like my son to have like all these different things, and it's so hard to like pare down. But we did get rid of quite a few toys after his 2-year-old birthday, and I do think the toy rotation system is definitely going to help. So anyway, I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope it kind of answered some of your questions about my toy rotation system. It's really not a complicated system or anything like super in-depth. I do it pretty simply because I don't have a lot of extra mental power to put into toy rotation. But yeah, that's kind of how we do it in our house. Let me know below if you do toy rotation and you do it differently, or you have another method that was successful for you. That way other parents can use this as a resource. As always, guys, thank you for watching. Definitely click that subscribe button if you haven't so you can get all the rest of my content. If you have any questions at all about this toy rotation system or anything else, definitely leave them in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.